This is She Goes Beyond, and I'm your host, Victoria Fregis. Here we're dedicated to changing the status quo and building a powerful community of women who can do it all. Who says you only have to be one thing? So grab your rod or your bow and tune in to the stories of women who love the same things that you do. You never know, you might just meet your next best friend. If this podcast is something you listen to weekly or you've loved an episode or two, I would be so grateful if you shared it with a girlfriend, posted it to your socials, or honestly, just head over to Spotify to rate it. I appreciate you so much for being here. Today's guest spent years working inside Canada's federal penitentiary system as a crisis negotiator and mental health nurse, helping people through some of the most intense and traumatic moments imaginable. After years of carrying the emotional weight of that work, she found herself facing her own battle with PTSD. What ultimately became part of her healing journey was not just the traditional therapy prescribed by your doctor. It was fishing. Since then, she has made it her mission to help have fishing recognized as a legitimate therapeutic tool for mental health disorders, specifically for first responders, working with government agencies and helping change the conversation around trauma and recovery. Her journey is even being featured in an upcoming documentary by the National Film Board of Canada. I am incredibly honored to have had this conversation and very excited to share it with you. Please welcome Christine Lapeer. Let's get into the podcast because we only have so much time. I am super excited to talk to you. I have lots of really intriguing questions to pick your brain about everything you've been through and what you're, headed towards. So I'm super excited to chat with you.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, thanks for the invite. I always love to talk about it and try and spread awareness about fishing and therapy and mental health, I guess, in general, and
Yeah.
looking after yourself through the outdoors.
Yeah.
Nature's great therapy.
Sure is. So let's jump into it. Why don't you just introduce yourself? Give us just a brief synopsis of what you do.
So I started working as a nurse in 2003, worked in the correctional system in the community and psychiatric hospitals. Did a lot of that for about 20 years and ultimately was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder through my role as a crisis negotiator in the federal penitentiary system up here in Kingston, Ontario. So through that, I went through a bunch of different treatments and medications and shock therapy and everything, name it. And ultimately, I found myself back into the fishing world. It's something I used to do as a kid with my dad and something I lost touch with when my career became my everything and I gave up on everything else other than family and work. And I found that in the act of fishing, I was actually finding moments of peace and relief from my brain and the injury that it endured. And I thought there's something magical about this. And as a nurse and wanting to get back into work and look after other people, I thought there's something here. So I initially was working with the police on a crisis response team where we go out and respond to mental health calls. And I thought this would be great to offer the community members and, people who had been through traumatic events and victims of crime and maybe something we can do with them. Just take them to the shoreline and, kind of give a safe space, parallel sitting next to each other, not, right in front of each other's faces in a therapeutic room where sometimes it's a little intimidating. And I thought that was great, and so did my colleagues. But then there was a suicide of a police officer in our community. And I recognized that the police officers I was working with needed supports and they needed help. And one of them actually asked to go fishing with me. And that's where the concept of mindful fishing came about, where it's going to be something that's going to be offered to first responders and the people who look after our communities. And really it makes sense, right? You're taught that if you look after yourself, you're able to look after other people. And if our first responders are well and they're able to look after themselves, then they're going to be better serving our community. So that's where it kind of took off. And now it's, just taking first responders fishing for therapy.
So as you already said, you spent years as a crisis navigator or negotiator, sorry, a crisis negotiator and mental health nurse inside Canadian, the penitentiary,
Yeah. Yeah.
penit
Yeah. It's the word we use here. It's not like, I guess it's, yeah, prisons.
prison. Okay,
Then,
let's
yeah.
go with that word. Prison system. So, what did that environment teach you about trauma that most people outside of that would not understand?
That's a great question. Because it was something I was a mental health nurse working in mental health and working with, I mean, every inmate I worked with pretty much was a victim of trauma. They didn't end up there because their lives were great.
Right.
And sadly after it, I'm realizing now that I really didn't understand a lot about post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma and how it shows up in people and how it showed up in me and how I've seen it show up in other people. Is I just had this crazy work drive. It was, I overworked and I felt like I was more important in my role than I actually was because I soon realized that I'm quickly replaceable as soon as you leave, but you just have a drive to please, you have a drive to be there for others. Um yeah, so sometimes it can show up as people who are workaholics and people who are short-tempered or irritable. The littlest things get them. It was me showing up to work and then saying, "Oh, can you go, help out on this escort today?" And I already had in mind what my day was going to look like. And suddenly now I have to go out on a transfer with an inmate to an outside hospital, and that's not what I thought was going to happen. And it's just losing your mind over it when really it's something very small and it's a part of the job. And it's um and then of course, relationship issues and struggling at home. And I unfortunately was married to a correctional officer who also had the same symptoms and the same challenges going on. So our marriage was not going to last. You're bringing work home. It's all you think about. Next thing you know, you're dreaming about work. And I know that one seems like it's an obvious one, but you don't really realize it at the time that, you wake up and you're suddenly having dreams about inmates and reliving nightmarish things that you saw and things that happened. And you're going into the grocery stores and you're overlooking your shoulder because you don't know who's behind you and who's going to be there. And I noticed that I would have to go into restaurants and scan the place and make sure there was a safe place where I can be in the corner and see everybody in that room before I felt safe to go in and sit there. Of course, substance use. The majority of people with post-traumatic stress disorder are substance abusers, and I drank to cope. I used drugs to cope. I didn't want to be left with my thoughts, so I made them go away. Um, it's pretty common, and it was acceptable at the time up in Canada, especially when cannabis became legal, that's how you coped. You just consumed a whole whack load of cannabis to make those thoughts go away, and you were more tolerable because you're so zoned out that you weren't thinking about anything else. So they thought that was good. Um, but I wasn't processing the things that happened to me. I wasn't going through them and living through them and feeling them. I was just drowning them.
Hmm.
And it came out in I just noticed I was losing friends. I was losing people around me. I wasn't present for my kids. I had a hard time going to the grocery store without, fear that something would happen. Um, in loud bangs, something just falling off the shelf and dropping on the floor, and you overreacting and screaming to it when it's just something minor. Is that so? I actually wasn't that aware, even though these symptoms might seem obvious to other people. I was still going through the motions because I was a nurse for so long that I was able to get up and show up and just be there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it ended up being my doctor saying, "You're done. Like you're no longer going back to that environment, and that's just not going to work for you." So I went off on treatment for a bit and tried to go back to work for a couple of years, but I'm focusing on helping other people in an environment that I feel is more beneficial, really, to the people I work with. Some people just don't respond to mainstream treatment and therapies and medication, but we as human beings need water, we need nature, we need that. So I feel like I'm providing better care now than I ever was in my nursing career.
Hmm. I love that for you. Was there a specific moment when you realized I'm not okay anymore? And what did PTSD look like in your life before you had like words for it?
It I think the substance abuse was the big one for me. I would explain away the friendships I lost. I would explain away the breakdown in my relationship with my husband. I could explain that away. You know, it's them, it's not me.
Hmm.
I could put the blame on other people. But I think it was pretty obvious when I had to drink alcohol to get to work that there was an issue. That's, and you know, and it took me a long time to admit that was the case.
Hmm.
I denied it, and I'm at the point now where I'm no longer lying about these things. I'm being open and honest because hopefully somebody else out there is like, dang it, I can't wait to get home from work to hit the bottle or to hit that pipe or to hit whatever your drug of choice is. Because if you're needing substances to get through your day, you have a major problem. And it's a well-known fact now in data and literature that all substance abuse stems from trauma. You know, not everybody, some people have a genetic component and some people are more predisposition to it, but if you're abusing substances, you have trauma. So yeah, that was kind of it for me. I thought, but you know, I wasn't the only person at work doing that, and that was the
Hmm.
sad thing about it, that there were so many people coping poorly. And it's still this poor mentality in the correctional system that, you know, you go through shit, you go down and meet at the bar and you drink it out and you talk about it, and that's how you get over it. And it's not helping anybody, but
Right. I feel like people often associate PTSD with like military or super extremes, right? How important do you think it is for you to broaden the conversation around who experiences trauma?
I love that because it is really important to me. And that's part of why my venture in mindful fishing is to prove that it's a therapeutic source that would benefit all first responders. So right now in Canada, military members can get their fishing licenses for free.
Mm.
And I believe that maybe the military does different research and has different funds and access to research that we don't have, that the general public doesn't have. So why is it that their fishing licenses are free? Yeah, yes, we want to honor them as military members and veterans, but also maybe they recognize the therapeutic benefit in it, and it's encouraging them to get out fishing. So I would like to see that happen for all first responders because it's easily recognizable in military members who go overseas, and it's understandable that they see stuff and they come back. But what I saw in the prison every day, over and over and over again, was just as bad. I saw murders, I saw sexual assaults, I saw people die, I saw assaults on staff members, I saw horrific stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but because I'm not military, it's not as easy for the general public to understand that. You talk about, you know, this hypervigilance that you are undergoing as first responders, like police officers, for instance. You're responding to homes and calls, and you don't know what you're going into. People can have whatever they want in their homes. They can have weapons. They can be doing whatever, and you don't know what you're going into. So you're on guard. And doing that over and over and over again, it takes its toll on you. So it's not just post-traumatic stress disorder. We talk about the complex post-traumatic stress disorder now, and it's a period of excessive, sometimes minor stressful events, but when you experience several of them over time, over and over and over again, and your brain doesn't get a break from them, it's injuring the parts of the brain that are directly impacted by PTSD. And there's, your adrenal gland and your hippocampus, and I can go into these parts of the brain that are directly impacted by PTSD. But having those small little instances over and over again has the same impact as somebody who goes overseas and sees a few bad things.
Mhm.
So we have to recognize that, you know, all first responders, and not all. I mean, I could have gone into nursing and worked in a doctor's office or, you know, did healthy baby checks and stuff like there's some really great nursing jobs out there, but I decided to work with the most mentally ill criminals in Canada. And that was, no, anyway, it took its toll.
Someone has to do it, right? Like someone
Yeah.
has to be the one to do that job, and you chose to do that. Thank you for your service in that at that space, but I cannot imagine. So I'm a nurse as well, and I worked
Okay.
on a gen med floor in Rochester at Mayo, and I also saw some stuff, not
Yeah.
to the extent of what you saw. So I cannot imagine what you had to deal with.
The world is changing. It's drugs are different than they were when I started my career. Like crystal meth wasn't an issue when I started. I can't even imagine what nurses in the ER and these hospitals are dealing with these days, and even in the penitentiary system. And you see signs now. You go into the ER, and I don't know about down there, but we have signs everywhere that assault on nurses isn't going to be tolerated and verbal abuse. And it's like that just wasn't an issue before.
Mm-hmm.
But nurses they're getting beat up at their jobs. They're getting verbally assaulted. They're getting attacked just for doing their job. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's just a very different world. And
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So fishing obviously became part of your healing journey.
Mhm.
What was happening internally when you were on the water that traditional approaches were not giving you?
I don't know what. I mean, I know the moment that I had that aha, like, what is this? This is magic. And it was ice fishing, actually. So I used to go fishing with my dad, and we'd sit in a 12-foot aluminum boat with a 6 horsepower and throw spinner baits and, catch little pike and whatever. And I had great memories doing that, but I didn't have the injury at the time. And I don't know that I benefited from it like I did later on when I needed that reward center of my brain to be fed, and I needed the mindfulness that comes along with being present in the moment and out fishing and engaged in an activity. And but I joined Ontario Women Anglers, and they had a nice fishing event, and I was so nervous because I was just kind of getting back into society, and meeting new people was scary to me, and like PTSD just changes you that way. But I decided to give it a go. There was only 12 women up there, and didn't know what I was doing. I'd never ice fished in my life, and my baits were too big, my rod was too stiff, I like everything was wrong. But a couple of them held me out, and next thing you know, I caught a fish through the ice, and I was like, wow, I want to do that again. Like I didn't even know what was going to come out of that hole, and the mystery below the ice and the snow. Like it was amazing. So then I sat there on this bucket on the ice with this little old fish finder. Um, and next thing I know, I didn't think about anything for 8 hours. Like I just nothing, no intrusive thoughts, no flashbacks, no looking over my shoulder, who was coming up behind me, like nothing. I just was there. Um, and that was the big moment for me. So then I started delving into why that was, and I wanted to see how I could make that feeling last throughout the year. So then I brought it into springtime and bobber fishing. Like I just like that transition of going into standing on a shoreline, and the world, the world's becoming alive at that time, and birds are starting to chirp, and the buds are starting to come out of the leaves, and you're just watching a bobber jump below the water. So I just tried to really focus on that, and the movements of the bobber, and just started to see little pecks, or when it gets sucked under slowly by a crappie, or when a pike comes and smashes it. Next thing you know, it floats back up and there's no line on the bottom. Just these little nuances of that kind of fishing. And then yeah, I even when I fish for bass or trout or anything in the summer, um I take that mindfulness into account when I approach my fishing. I know some people are like, I want to use the newest lure, I want to do this, or I have to use this technique, but sometimes I'm successful for the most part, but sometimes I'm not, because sometimes I want to feel the vibration of a chatterbait through the weeds. Like that just gives me this feedback, and I'm connecting with the mystery below the surface. Or when you are just gliding a drop shot weight along the bottom of the lake, and you're 20, 30 feet down, but you can feel every rock you hit, and you feel this connection to the below world. Um, and sometimes I just have to do that kind of fishing where I'm just in the moment and nature. And sometimes I want to go fishing down in a back bay because I know the bald eagles are nesting there and I want to see them. And, even though I know the spawning fish have left the bay, I just want to go check it out and see what's down there and spend some time down there. And so I do approach it a little differently because it is about the whole experience and nature. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. When you just started explaining the feeling when you go fishing of your mind goes blank and you're just able to just be you. You're not worried about what's behind you. You're not worried about what's next. You're just you. The way you said it was the best explanation because that's how I feel when I'm hunting. I'm in my tree stand and there's my mind for once. I swear I have ADHD. I am like chaos in my brain is running a million miles a minute every single minute of every day unless I am sleeping. or sitting in my tree stand. Like that is the one time my brain stops and I can just be. I actually last year, I don't remember if I've said this on the podcast since, but last fall, I have an Aura ring. And at
Yeah.
one point in my tree stand, I like looked at my app later on before bed and it said, "Did you take a nap from this time to this time?" Because I was so relaxed.
Okay. So it's so funny you brought that up because so I just got getting back into my fitness journey and wellness, and I got one of those Garmin
Yeah.
the active watches. So the watch was pissing me off before because it would just always come up and say stressful day, take
Yeah.
time to relax. I'm like, yeah, of course. I have a stress disorder. Thanks,
Yeah.
tips. Like it
Yeah.
was so frustrating. But so I just picked up hunting. I moved in with my guy. He has acreage and he hunts, and I got to go sit in the deer stand with him in the fall. I just got my firearms license, like with 5 days left of rifle season. And I was like, well, I'm not enough time to pick it up, but I'll go sit with you. And it was the weirdest thing, but just this raccoon came up and climbed up a tree a bit and was just bathing itself and doing its thing. And we didn't, like a couple does and her fawns came out and he wasn't gonna harvest them, but it was I was like, this is awesome. Like this is so great. And also um, it kind of was a lot less stressful than going fishing. Like I wasn't worried about trailering my boat and hauling it out there
Yeah.
and wind and whatever. It was just we just went back and climbed up the deer stand and sat there and was just totally immersed and that nature doesn't know that you're there. And
Mhm.
so anyway, I got my watch this spring. And I started turkey hunting and I said I really want to get my first animal. I want to harvest something. I want to put that on the plate for my kids, and I want to add morel mushrooms and crappie to it. And I just had this goal. I've been working on it for a couple of years. And so I been sitting back in the blind, and it took me 9 days. But all the hours I spent back there, my watch started saying, "Easy day. You've had an easy day," and it's the
Mm.
first time it's ever done that. I was like, "What?" So of course I told my therapist. She's like, "Are you finding it frustrating that you're not?" um, that you haven't had success yet or whatever. And I said, my watch is telling me it's doing something for me. My watch is telling me that this is creating moments that I'm, present and it's an easy day. And I was just blown away by it.
I
And
know.
yeah, like I'm like hunting. So I'm going to be all about mindful hunting now. However, it's a little bit, unfortunately, it's a little bit, there's more barriers to getting people out hunting with you, right? So
Yes.
that's where fishing, you have your fishing license, that's all you need. And
Yep.
I'm trying to get that barrier even reduced because for some people, they don't even want to pay that or it's too challenging for them to go online and buy it. Um, but hunting, yeah, it's a whole
Hmm.
other of issues. But I'm
Hmm.
open to it if somebody, a lot of police officers and correctional officers and nurses, there's a lot of them out there that hunt. And if they
Hmm.
ever wanted to come with me or have company, I would go with them in a heartbeat and sit
Yeah.
in silence together with somebody, right? It's so
Yeah.
powerful.
So
Yeah.
powerful. So
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely. I like have no words for it because it's something I've never been able to like explain to someone like, oh yeah, my brain just shuts off. It stops running when I sit in my tree stand, but it does. And I agree, the barriers are different. I think fishing is still a great avenue. But there is something to be said about being outside in the woods.
Oh, I I was blown away by how much I loved it. It
Yeah.
was yeah, sitting there, and of course, and somebody who hunts, and this is all new for me, but like just watching everything and watching the turkey's behavior over the 9 days, just seeing some hens come in and things happening, and you're just there and you feel like you're a part of it. Like they
Hmm.
don't know I was in a blind, they don't know you're there.
Right.
Sometimes they're eating a peanut butter sandwich because it was slow sometimes, and I'm
Yeah.
just watching the world happen around me.
Yeah.
And I was just yeah, I just it was so when I was done, um, my partner said, like, why don't you go pack up the blind and get the decoys out? And I just folded it and put it in the garage and maybe I'll put it back out, but probably not because I'm on to fishing now. But I missed it. I was like, I kind of missed my home away from home. It was like this place I got up every day at 5 and went to and sat for hours. I
Uh-huh.
miss it. Do you
I
feel
know.
that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, when it's over, I shot a really nice buck last fall and I'm like, "Oh, I
Yes,
really
I
actually
know.
wish I wish I wouldn't have. Like, I really would like to be sitting in my, and I could have shot a doe. Like, I could have went back out and sat,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have a whole lot more time. But you're sad when it's over. Oh yeah, I totally get that. That means you're in
Yeah.
it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because somebody else, a friend of my partner's was saying that because he's big into hunting and he does bear and deer, like everything. But I said, yeah, like I don't know why I have this feeling of missing the turkey blind and being there and just sitting back there. And he goes, oh yeah, you're sad when it's over. He goes, I'm
Yeah.
sad every time I
Hmm.
get my animal. It's just he goes, I don't want it to happen the first day, but sometimes it does, right? Or
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
And I
I
think it's
totally get it.
right. It's that craving of that simplicity and calmness. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. Okay, can you explain? You started to a little bit about the
Yeah.
hippocampus and et cetera,
Yeah.
but like, can you explain what fishing therapy actually does neurologically and
Mhm.
or emotionally for someone struggling with PTSD, anxiety, depression?
Yeah, so the parts of the brain that are impacted by trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder are there's three parts. Your prefrontal cortex, and that's where your emotional regulation and um, that stuff, like that fight or flight response, that adrenaline, that's where that comes in. And scans show that that part is impacted. Your hippocampus, which is where your memory comes into play. And that's why my memory is awful. I couldn't, major events that have happened in my life besides my kids' birthdays. Like I can't recall the year sometimes, or I can't recall, was that last month or the month before? Um, and then your adrenal cortex, your adrenal glands, and that's again the hormone and the adrenaline and the stuff that goes through, but also is responsible for the reward center. So fishing is perfect because it targets all those parts of the brain that are impacted. Your need for mindfulness, like mindfulness and meditation is crucial in healing with PTSD. It's absolutely crucial that you give your brain a break from all the thoughts of threatening. Like, I mean, when you have PTSD, the whole world is a threat to you. Going to Walmart is a threat. Going to, you know, your kids' sports games and you don't know who's going to be there. Like, everything is a threat. So you
Mhm.
need to find a way to give your brain a break where you're at peace. You're not thinking about anything else. There's no chance of triggers happening. Um, yeah, and also to target your hippocampus, and you're creating neural pathways and new memories that are beautiful and things you can recall. So my point right now is trying to replace the bad memories with good ones. And I'm
Mhm.
really working hard at if I'm able to recall, my time in the blind or my time on the water or my time in the forest foraging for mushrooms, if that can start replacing um, the memories that I have of working in the prison, then I'm starting healing. And I actually had my first dream this week of turkey hunting with my friends, and it was so weird, but I woke up and I was like, that was such a weird dream, but I dreamed about turkey hunting with my
Ah,
friends. And we were all talking, and like 20 turkeys walked in front of us. I'm like, that would never happen, but it was really cool to dream about it. Like, it was so weird. Um, yeah, and then again, like you're just trying to give your body a break from the adrenaline, from that fight or flight response, or that, that freeze response we call now that fawn response. But it is by doing things that are mindful that you're feeling and that are rewarding as well, right? That's the biggest thing. What I think about hunting too is you're going into the forest and you're going into nature with a purpose. You're not just going out there to go for a walk. Like going for a walk is great, maybe for your cardiovascular system and your physical health, but when you enter the forest with a purpose, then you're creating the opportunity for mindfulness. You're creating the opportunity to feed the reward center of your brain, which is healing.
mhm.
Whether, it's yeah, I don't know. I try to like explain it simply, and I'm also not a neurologist and
Right.
I'm just a mental health nurse, but
Yeah.
but I was like, why is this feeling so great? Why is this so rewarding? And it's because the parts of your brain that are impacted by PTSD are directly targeted when you're engaged in mindfulness things, especially in nature, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much history research out there in terms of how therapeutic water is. That's why I kind of was driven towards going that route in my initial part of the journey.
Mhm.
because we need water. We're humans. We need water.
Hmm.
People who live by water are healthier and happier. People who sit by water are healthier and happier. People who immerse themselves in water are healthier. There's a lot of therapeutic benefit just to being on or by the water. Yeah, and initially, in the early stages of my healing, I actually found the forest stimulating. I found the rustling of the leaves and squirrels running on the ground. I was like, this is noisy for me. The water isn't. But as I get better and I feel better and I can appreciate what being totally immersed in nature is, it's like, yeah, it's all there. It's all there
Yeah.
too. Like, yeah.
Oh, it made me happy to hear that you have had hunting dreams.
Yeah. My first one. And I was like, okay, I wasn't like in a prison with an inmate trying to stab me.
Right. My God.
Sadly, those were my dreams for a while. But
Right.
um, yeah, and it was a cool dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that for
Yeah,
you.
so hopefully I can, and then this fall, hopefully I can replace that with a deer dream and we'll
Yeah.
see. But
Yes, you will.
I know
Okay.
my partner was looking at your Instagram page and saw the one that you got in the fall. He goes, "Holy crap! Like we don't get deer like that around here." But
Yeah, we don't really either. So it was pretty, that's another reason it was so exciting. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I have lots of deer dreams. So,
yeah. Oh, nice. Nice.
oh man. Okay. So, did you resist the idea at first that something as simple as fishing could help heal something as serious as PTSD?
Absolutely. I just started going fishing for something to do because I
Hmm.
was, ordered off work by my psychiatrist and I was like, the kids are in school and people are working and I'm trying not to drink my face off every day. I got to replace this with something else. And I
Hmm.
actually just repicked it back up like from childhood as an activity, a way to pass the time. Um, and yeah, in no way until I had that aha moment on the ice did I think that it was so therapeutic. I just thought this is a kind of a nice way to be out in nature and something to do, and catching fish it's fun and it kind of brings back those childhood memories and a sense of community too, right? Like it's been pushed a lot in my treatment that community is very important to growing and feeling like you belong because PTSD is a very isolating injury. You don't feel like you can trust people. You don't think anybody understands you.
Hmm.
So you isolate. And the more you isolate and withdraw, the harder it is for you to get better. So I kind of was trying to force myself to join a community of people who had nothing to do with the prison system, nothing to do with healthcare. And that was the Ontario Women Anglers, another women who fished and were like minded, and none of our backgrounds mattered. Our careers didn't matter, or nothing matters in that community. And I don't know, I don't have a hunting community, and I'm not sure if it's the same thing there, but really in the fishing community, it just amazes me how you can target different species. I'm sure like you can target different animals in hunting. Some people are all about turkey, some are about bear, and in fishing, some are trout, some are muskie. It's all over the map. But there's a commonality there and yeah, like your history, your I like to say sometimes your financial doesn't matter. It depends what you do. I mean, sometimes finances are very much needed in these things,
Yeah.
but you can also do it cheap, right? If you're just
Yeah.
into going for spring crappie, you can do that cheap.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I just had no idea that it would just have the impact it did on me until I had that moment of silence in my brain.
Hmm. You are currently working with government agencies to have phishing recognized as a legitimate therapeutic tool. Have you come across any barriers? How is that going? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, the biggest barrier that I've come across is the lack of research. Nobody is researching the numbers, right? Like we need somebody who can go out and do blood work and check on people's cortisol levels and then take them fishing and recheck them and know that they were lowered. These healthcare workers, and it's like any pharmaceutical that we prescribe. They want to know the numbers. They want to know
Hmm.
the benefit, how long it lasts, and how much it's going to cost. Um, and fishing, it's one of those things that people are going to do recreationally, so they don't really see the need in that. However, and it's taken me a while, I've convinced my treatment team what it does for me and how beneficial it is. So I do have my psychiatrist who's willing to um, write a prescription, I guess, for it.
Hmm.
So we've gained some stride up here in Ontario where some people did a lot of work to show the therapeutic benefit of nature. And now you can actually get prescriptions from your doctor to prescribe nature therapy, and that will gain access to provincial parks, some federal parks, the Nature Museum, some other nature opportunities. And there's exercises and activities you can do, but that's all like nature based. Um, there's equine therapy. They recognize horse therapy. They recognize art therapy. I know of a nurse who was prescribed art therapy, and her healthcare provider actually paid for her art supplies so she could engage in art therapy. So I was like, why? Fishing is the same thing. It's a form of therapy. You're in nature, you're engaged in an activity, there's reward with it. It has all that. And what I'm hoping is that the healthcare providers will just see that, prescribe it, and then when we submit the cost of even just our fishing license to start with, then that is just going to be one less barrier that people have to get out fishing.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I want healthcare providers to tell people like, go fishing. It's therapeutic. And then it would just, you know, make like just even offering resources in terms of where to access the information, where they can fish, what species are in what lakes, all that information's out there. We pay for that information with our
Hmm.
licenses. So let's get people out there and get
Hmm.
them fishing and reduce some of the financial barriers that arise when, people go to get their license and stuff. So
Hmm.
I'm working on it. My psychiatrist is actually, yeah, like I said, he's willing to prescribe it now. So I just need the healthcare provider to say, yes, we'll cover your fishing license. And then if they do that for me, then word gets out and hopefully they'll continue and hopefully we can get it on the map.
Yeah. Yeah. Put a petition out there. Let's
Yeah.
go. Everyone sign it. Um,
Oh,
I had
yeah.
something I was gonna
Paperwork's the
say.
biggest thing. Every first responder I know doesn't want to do paperwork because when I run my events, I have our first responders come to them. I brought that up. I said, could we start gathering some data? Would any of you be willing? And they're like, no more paperwork,
Oh,
no more surveys, no more, And I'm like, I get
yeah.
it. They just want to come and fish, and that's fine.
Right, right. Also, I completely agree. We're not asking for thousands of dollars per person who's struggling with this. We're just asking for a fishing license. Like, and to
Yeah,
be completely honest, I think that's even too, ooh, that's too easy for them. We should be asking for like more than that. Like, get them a pole, get them a line, or
yeah,
like
like a
set them,
starter kit. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, some sort of starter kit, or set them up with someone who is offering to allow them to use their stuff, like you,
yeah.
to get them out there.
Well, there's a program up here called the Tackle Share program, and all provincial parks and some other parks as well have equipment that people can come and borrow and use and try it out. They just have to have their fishing license. But um, like I was saying, a nurse I know that had her art supplies provided by her healthcare provider when she was prescribed art therapy, they paid for a little bit of supplies. So
Mm.
yeah, it would be great to see that next step go through where they submit for the basic cost of a rod, a reel, fishing line, a couple hooks, and, like $150 worth would get people started above and
Mhm.
beyond, and it's
Right.
nothing. And if it gets them out on the water, like it's saving you so much money in our healthcare system.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I have lots of things to say about that, but I'll digress. Um, have you seen any transformation outside of yourself with this? Like anyone that you've been helping or helped with through your the things you host and whatnot?
So one of my favorite stories, and I know she won't mind me telling, and I've told it before on other podcasts, but it's just, yeah. Anyway, so she was a police officer in Kingston, in a town close to me. And she worked in child sex crime, so a horrific division of policing, and subsequently went off work because of her injury. Um, but one of her symptoms was her tactile response. She couldn't touch anything without gloves on, like nothing. When she cleaned, when she tried to take her kids fishing, but she'd be constantly wearing gloves or like just anything. So anyway, in her treatment, she decided to give me a chance and to come out and try one of my ice fishing events. And she met a couple people and really liked it, and her kids really liked it. and I always want family included because they're a big part of our treatment and
Yeah.
recovery. So she thought, great, my kids like it. It's good enough. I'm going to come again. So there she is with her gloves, though. And so one September, I got her on a boat with a volunteer friend of mine. And I run a little bass derby in September for the first responders. And I have volunteer boaters who will bring them out in their boat and we fish for 4 hours. And it's a friendly competition and a barbecue and stuff after. And I ran into her and there she was fishing. But look, I'm touching the fish, but she had gloves on. And, at least she was holding the fish, but still had to have those gloves on. Um, but she kept showing up and she kept trying things. And not this last September. This last September, she was great. But the September before that, um, she was out fishing with another volunteer boater. And I kind of gave him the heads up like, hey, she's cool. Like, you're going to love her. But she's a little squeamish around the fish. And if she wants to wear gloves, I don't care. As long as she's out fishing, just let her do her thing. And she's pretty open and honest about it. But I go out in my boat and during that event and I check on people and see how they're doing. And I happen to come across her and her son and the volunteer. And she's like, look, Christina, she was holding the fish with no gloves. Like, could
Ah!
not believe it. I was like, well, this is just worth everything and all my efforts. And I can't believe this. And she was so proud of herself. And yeah, and then come this year, she went out with her kid and she's just gripping lit, like just ripping them and yeah, just releasing them. And let me take, I don't know if she's taking the hook out of the mouth yet. I'm not sure, but I'm not on the boat with her. So, but yeah, like that right there, it's like I helped her overcome one. To her, it was a huge thing,
Yeah.
and she overcame that one obstacle just by going fishing and giving it a try, being around people that she didn't feel judged by, and she could trust them to go through these motions and just give me time, and they were good with her and slow with her, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I got chills while you were
Yeah,
talking. Wow. Yeah, that's lovely. Lovely that you can hold on to that. She can hold on to that.
yeah.
How
Yeah,
cool.
there's been a few. Even just getting people out. Like I said, it's such an isolating disorder. And just to get people to come to one of the events or just to come out on the water with me one on one, I still do that.
Yeah.
Um, it's just getting them out of their shell and just giving them a few hours of peace of mind. And yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen people just cry and release and something they've been holding in for so long, and that's fine. Like you do what you need to do. And I had other people who have come and just start talking like nonstop. They're like, I haven't talked to anybody like who understands it or gets it in so long, and that's fine too. Like you can
Yeah.
sit in peace, you can talk, you can whatever. As long as
Yeah.
we're out on the water, it's all good.
It's your time.
Yeah,
Your story, now correct me if I'm wrong if we can't talk about this, but your story is being documented by the
yeah.
National Film Board of Canada. What has it been like to relive this journey through filming?
It's been interesting. It's so I have my last bit of filming coming up in a couple weeks actually. So this process started a couple years ago because he wanted to capture kind of the whole journey, and it started with him coming out one summer and filming me taking a police officer and his dad fishing and a paramedic and a military member and going out fishing with one of my volunteers who actually was taking me fishing. And so he filmed that journey. And then he filmed my bass event in September, kind of to show everybody coming together and joy on people's faces and just more of a crowd and kind of what I love doing this for. Um, and so then I've done a couple talks at university here at a biodiversity summit and a couple other things that he's filmed. And then this winter he came to film me ice fishing because he knows like that's where the magic happened for me,
Yeah.
and he wanted to capture that. So it was the craziest thing too because we went on my local lake here. And the way filming goes, he said, I really need to film you here because the backdrop shows the vastness of the lake and there's not a lot of distraction. And I want you right there. And I said, well, okay, that's fine, but I'm not going to catch a fish there. Like, I know this lake and there's nothing. Sure enough, second drop, I caught a fish. So I was like, it's meant to be, right? It was crazy. He was like, this is amazing. And I got it on film. And I can't believe that happened, like, at all. I have no clue how that happened. But anyway, it was magical. And And he got a really cool couple shots of the ice and just its vastness and how much I love the still and calm and the whiteness of the winter. I love it. Um, so the interesting thing too about the end of our filming this month is that he actually wants to film me back in the penitentiary where my injury happened.
Mm,
So um, I actually shouldn't say the name of it or
that's fine.
the service or anything because that's part of the film, them giving us permission to film in there is that we don't mention it, is that we don't say anything about it. Most people in my life know where I worked and what I did, but for for this purpose, they don't want us to mention them or, talk about the penitentiary, but use it as a backdrop. So I'm going to be re-entering that prison for the first time since it closed. And I'm nervous about it. I'm scared about it, but I'm working with my treatment team on it. My occupational therapist we're going to meet there next week actually and do a bit of
Oh,
like pre-exposure therapy and go through the motions of going there and parking and walking to the front door and we're not going in, but he's just getting me ready for all of that. So then when the filmmaker comes and films me going in there for the first time, it's like at least I'm not going to be breaking down in the parking lot, but I
yeah,
might break down there, but it's still like it's going to be he's helping me to try and remember the good things that happened in there because my career was really interesting. Like I worked at the oldest penitentiary in Canada and I worked at the oldest psychiatric hospital in Canada and I've had a really interesting career and there's really great golden moments and I'm hoping I remember those when I go in and not just the bad stuff that
yeah,
caused my ultimate demise. Um, so yeah, I'm working with my treatment team on that, and we're going to do that. And then he's also going to film a part of my life that was challenging for me before, and that's like going to my kids' sporting events or just everyday things like going to the gym or going to the grocery store. I used to have to go and scope these places out. Like before my kids' hockey game, I'd have to go early and see who was going in the building and who was coming out and who would be in there and who I knew that I could just run to them and sit next to them and where I could sit. It was just it's been a process and recovery, but now I look forward to my kids' soccer games and hockey games, and I show up and hey, and I know the moms, and so things have definitely gotten better over the
yeah,
last couple of years.
yeah,
But yeah, so he's gonna try and capture all that, and then it goes for editing this summer, and hopefully then it'll end up at some film festivals and um, see all that, and then go from there and see. Yeah,
yeah. We'll have to keep in touch. I'd like to see it.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Even the trailers, like he's just a beautiful filmmaker. He's really more into the scenery, which I really like.
Yeah,
And I mean, the story tells itself. It's interesting to some, but not everybody, and that's fine. But the scenery, we just got really lucky. It was like it was meant to be.
yeah.
The days he came for filming, I'm like, this is crazy nice. Like I can't even
Oh,
believe this is all coming about like this. But
oh, I love that.
yeah,
Okay, if someone, we only have a few minutes left, but if
yeah.
someone listening feels burned out, emotionally numb, overwhelmed, but they don't know where to start, what would you tell them?
For me, my best thing was to go to my doctor. It was just starting the conversation. And for some people, there's a lot of people up in Canada who don't have doctors or they don't have um, any treatment providers, but it was just starting the conversation with somebody because I didn't have anybody in the home that I could trust. Because I would recommend that. Try to find a peer or somebody you think you trust or who might get it. Because as soon as you feel understood and you feel heard and you feel that you're going to be accepted moving forward in your journey to get help, then you're going to follow through with that. It's really important just to start the conversation. So I think peers up here, we have a lot of great programs that are peer support. There's numbers all over the nursing stations and constable offices, and call this number for peer support. And it's just as soon as you're thinking about it, just try and do it because if you're thinking about it, it's been going on for a while before you realized. Because the worst thing would be to divulge any of this to somebody you don't trust or to somebody who's not going to be there for you, like your parents. Not always are the best people, right? They might be like, you're fine, or, nothing happened in your childhood. What are you talking about? Like things like that. Like, parents aren't always the best, right? And sometimes friends can be even a little judgmental. It's trying to identify the person who you think isn't going to judge you just to get the conversation going. And
Mhm.
then, and doctors are usually a great resource in terms of referrals and yeah, and up here we have a lot of peer support groups. We even have a phone number now to call that you can crisis lines and anybody. As soon as you start the conversation and you start becoming aware of what is out there, you're going to realize that there's actually a lot of help out there if you're willing to seek it. There's a lot of
Mhm.
resources and there's a lot of people who understand. There's a lot of people who get it. It's just starting the conversation.
Mhm. Absolutely. And unfortunately, you are up in Canada, and many people who listen to this podcast are in Canada, but also in the United States. I am curious if for the people in Canada, how can they reach you to start the working with like mindful fishing?
It's been mostly word of mouth, and that's kept me busy enough, actually too busy at times. But I'm open on Facebook and I'm open on Instagram, and my email is mindfulfishing@gmail.com. I've been working on a website. My kid has been helping because I just suck at that stuff. Like just flat out, I suck at it, right? And I've opened it up a few times and shut her down, and I own the mindfulfishing.com plateau, but it's yeah, if you just look up my name and there's articles and stuff out there. If you don't trust me, because that's a big thing too, right? People are like, "Who are you?" And like,
Right.
there's some articles, and I've been in a couple of the outdoor magazines and stuff. And you can creep me, you can look it up, and if you feel like reaching out, I I don't have like privacy settings on my messages and stuff, so I'm
Perfect.
accessible.
Love it. Okay, this is a part of the podcast. I have to do it. I know we're almost out of time, but
Yeah,
I ask some fun questions just to get to know you a little bit better as a
yeah,
girl and a human.
yeah.
Tell me, what do you do for fun when work is not required?
Well, the outdoors, right? But other than that, like I'm trying to be more of a girly girl, and like I've just started to get like my nails done and like go on vacations down south. Like it's my boyfriend's kind of brought me out of this like must work, must fish for therapy, must engage in all things like outdoors all the time. But it's like sometimes it's nice to go like for a spa day or something, right? Like that's all new to me. It's funny. So yeah, like I'm trying to feed into that feminine side a bit more, and I kind of like it. Yeah.
I love it. I love the sound of that. That's like one of the biggest pieces of this podcast is that we don't have to just be that hard worker, that girl who fishes. No, we can be the girl who gets her nails done and likes to get her hair done and likes to feel
Yeah, I'm going
feminine.
next week. Oh, can't wait to get my hair done
Yes.
next week. I can't wait. Yeah.
Those are things that make you feel like you. And
Yeah.
I sometimes, yeah, even my husband, he's great. And like, he doesn't care what I do and how what I do to feel good and whatnot. But he's like, do you really need to go on that other vacation? It's like, kinda
Yeah.
I do. I need to feel human. I need to go on vacation and I need to do
But-
the girly things. And yes, I need to shop for clothes because
Yeah,
it's just necessary.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I love cooking. Like cooking's my other therapy. Like I love it. Just trying different recipes. Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
I'm just trying to find because the thing about fishing is it's great, it's therapeutic and hunting, but hunting has seasons and fishing can be shut down by weather. Like it's
Mhm.
not always accessible. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to find things like, Monday I was like, I'm so tired after being in the blind for 9 days. And then I wanted to forage and fish the same day because I wanted to do my feathers, forage and fish thing. And because I've been trying to work on that. And I was like, I'm going to get my nails done and have a nap. And it was the greatest.
Best Monday ever. Okay, what's your favorite fish to catch?
Crappy. I just love them.
Yeah,
I
it's a
just
fun.
do. Like, I mean, I love lake trout and I love bass. But they're so pretty and
Yeah.
they're good if I don't keep them all the time, but if I do, they're elusive and challenging enough. But then when you find them, they're so fun and
Mhm.
they bring me back to my childhood, right? And I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Uh, what's a guilty pleasure food of yours?
Well, I'm trying really hard not to do that, but I've been trying to be sugar free since like August, I guess. But anyway, it's oh, I will sneak like some of my kids' banana bread and like
Hmm.
I bake it for them. Like I can't touch that. And then they're in bed and I'm chopping off a piece and slathering butter on it and eating it. I'm like, damn it.
I can't have any of that in my house, honestly.
Right.
We
Oh
have,
no.
if you come to my house and you're like, oh, I would love something to eat other than a protein bar. I'm like, well, I have nothing. We have nothing. Not unless
Yeah,
it's eggs or chicken or something healthy because
that
I
for the
will,
most part. Yeah.
yeah.
But my poor teenage boys, right? They eat all the time, and I'm like, I can't. They get sick of all the cottage cheese and egg whites and vegetables and stuff I feed them and sweet potatoes and squash and whatever. But I love it. I'm doing well, but yeah, the odd time. And if I were to go out and binge and just give her on something, it would be oysters and crab legs. Like I could
Ooh.
just eat that all day.
Oh,
Yeah, it's disgusting.
that is lovely. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite pizza is pineapple, pepperoni, hot pepper, and olives. So you
Oh,
get sweet, heat, and salty, and yeah,
I
yeah.
have never heard of all of those things on one pizza.
No, I can never get anybody to buy one with me. So just I'll get a small. Well, I haven't had pizza in a while either, but
Yeah.
that would be it. Yeah.
Music genre,
Oh, I'm a '90s girl, like
90s
grunge,
girl.
and yeah, alternative, and through and through. Yeah.
Love it. And last one, would you rather go out of town or like go out on the town or stay in?
Stay in.
Me too.
That's a bit of my trauma, but also like we live just surrounded by nothing, and growing I grew up in a bigger t city.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, yeah, it's like 7, 8 o'clock. I shut her down. Like, I love it.
Yes. You know what I
Love
love?
it.
And this podcast just fuels it. I love getting ready and then I love not going anywhere.
I have pajama pants on right now.
That's the best part about Zoom.
Oh, I know. I did that all through like when working from home and stuff during COVID. It's like I'm wearing pajama pants.
No, me too. I work from home and I actually sometimes I force myself to put on jeans just to remember how
Yeah.
tight they are so that I get my butt moving. Oh my God. Oh, this was so fun, Christine. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
keep in touch.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And everyone knows where to find you because you already said it. So thank you for your time. And everyone else, we will catch you next time. This podcast is sponsored by Taylor & Co. Taylor & Co. is a mother-daughter nurse duo-owned business specializing in handcrafted, all-natural, self-care products and services with an emphasis on health and wellness and holistic healing. Their products are handcrafted in Minnesota with pure, natural, and organic ingredients. They offer wellness services such as yoga classes, Reiki healing, and more. You can find them on Instagram or online at taylorandco.boutique. For a special little discount, you can also use She Goes Beyond 15 for a one-time 15% off. Or all future orders can use Victoria 10 for 10% off.